如果你在聆听时不需要频繁暂停就能理解大意，那么你的英语积累在日常表达中是完全够用的。像学母语一样学英语，我们开始吧。
During World War II, there was a brave soldier named Max. Max was a spy, a secret keeper from Canada. He was very good at his job, quiet and careful.
One day, his bosses sent him on a very dangerous mission to a hot, sandy city in Africa called Casablanca. It was 1942. His job was to meet another spy, a woman named Marianne. Together, they had to stop an important bad man from the enemy side. Max had never met Marianne before. He only knew she was a fighter for her country, France.
Max arrived in Casablanca by jumping out of an airplane with a parachute in the dark night. A car picked him up. He was told Marianne was already there, pretending to be a normal lady who loved parties and knew many important people, including the enemies. Max's job was to pretend to be her husband, who had just arrived from Paris. They had to act like they were very much in love, so no one would guess they were spies. Max went to a fancy nightclub full of music and people in fine clothes. There he saw Marianne. She was beautiful, with shining eyes and a clever smile. She walked right up to him and kissed him, as if she had missed him very much. "I missed you, my love," she whispered, but her eyes were like a smart fox watching him, testing him. Max knew he had to be a very good actor.
They lived together in a small apartment. They had to share everything, just like a real husband and wife. It felt strange, pretending to be married to someone you just met. Marianne was very good at pretending. She taught Max how to act more like her loving husband from Paris. She would say, "Hold my hand like you mean it," or "Smile at me more, darling." Max tried his best. He watched her, how she moved, how she talked to important enemy officers, always charming, always brave. He started to admire her very much. They planned their secret mission very carefully. They had to go to a big party where the bad man, the German ambassador, would be. It was very risky. They went to shooting practice in the desert. Marianne was a very good shot. Max was too. They learned to trust each other with their lives. Living so close, pretending to be in love, something real started to grow between Max and Marianne. In the quiet moments in their apartment, they would talk about their real lives, just a little bit. Max learned that Marianne was strong, but she also had a soft heart. Marianne saw that Max was a good man, brave and kind, under his quiet soldier ways. One day they were out in the desert planning. A big sandstorm came, fast and wild. They had to hide in their car. The wind howled outside. Inside the car, it was quiet and close. They looked at each other. All the pretending, all the danger, it all melted away. They weren't just spies anymore. They were a man and a woman who were starting to feel real love. They held each other close as the storm raged. After the sandstorm, Max knew his heart had changed. "Come with me to London," he told Marianne, his voice serious. "Be my wife, for real." Marianne looked at him, her eyes searching his. Then she smiled, a real happy smile. "Yes, Max," she said. "Yes." A few days later, they went to the big party. It was full of enemy officers. Max and Marianne dressed in their finest clothes, acting like a happy couple. Then, at the right moment, when a signal was given, they both pulled out their hidden guns. Bang! Bang! It was a fast, loud fight. They were a good team, protecting each other. They completed their mission. The bad man was stopped. They managed to escape, their hearts still pounding from the danger and the excitement. Their mission in Casablanca was over. They were in love. A year later, Max and Marianne were living in London, England. The war was still going on. Bombs sometimes fell on the city. But Max and Marianne were married for real now. and they had a little baby girl named Anna. She was born one night when the air raid sirens were wailing and bombs were falling nearby. She was a beautiful, healthy baby, a little light in a dark time. Max had a job at a secret office for spies. It was a desk job, safer than being out in the field. Mary Ann was a good mother to Anna. She made their little house in a part of London called Hampstead a cozy home. They seemed very happy. They would have parties, and Max's friends from work would come. Mary Ann was a wonderful host, charming everyone. Max would watch her and feel so much love. He thought all the danger was behind them. He thought they had found real peace. Then, one day, everything changed. Max was called into a dark room at his office. Frank was there, and another stern-faced man. They looked very serious. Frank told Max something that made his world stop. "Max," Frank said, his voice low, "we have information. It's about Mary Ann." Max felt a cold knot in his stomach. "What about her?" "We believe she might be a spy," Frank said, his eyes full of pity. "A spy for the enemy." Max couldn't believe it. Mary Ann? His Mary Ann? The mother of his child? A spy? It was impossible. But the men were sure. They told Max about something called a blue dye operation. They would give him a fake piece of important information. He was to write it down and leave it where Mary Ann could see it, perhaps when they hosted a small party at their home. His heart felt like lead as he did this, making sure the note with the fake secret was visible on his desk during the gathering, then putting it away later. If that information reached the enemy, it would mean Mary Ann had sent it. The waiting for any news about that test was agony. Days passed, and Max heard nothing. He wanted so badly for it all to be a mistake. The uncertainty was eating him alive. Max couldn't just sit and wait for the official results of the blue dye test. He had to do something himself to find out the truth, desperately hoping he could prove her innocent before any bad news came. He remembered Paul Delamere, the resistance man from Dieppe, who supposedly knew Mary Ann. Max decided he had to find him. He managed to get a small plane and flew across the sea in the dead of night to France. He found Delamere, drunk in a cell. Max pressed him about Marianne Beaujour. Delamere told him something that chilled Max to the bone. The real Marianne Beaujour, the one he knew, was a celebrated hero. She was a very talented piano player. Once, in a cafe full of German soldiers, she had bravely played the French national song, La Marseillaise, as an act of defiance. Max flew back to London, his heart a cold, heavy stone. This Mary Ann, the hero pianist, sounded nothing like his wife. That evening, with a terrible feeling of dread, he took Mary Ann to a local pub. There was an old piano in the corner. "Play for me, Mary Ann," Max said, his voice tight. "Play that French song, the one they said you played so bravely in Dieppe." Mary Ann's face went pale. She looked at the piano as if it were a monster. Her hands trembled as she sat down. She tried to play, but the notes were hesitant, wrong. It was clear she couldn't play the song, not like a hero, not like someone who was famous for it. She looked up at Max, her eyes filled with terror and despair. "I can't," she whispered. Right there, with the out-of-tune piano notes hanging in the air, she broke down. She confessed everything. Yes, she was a spy. The real Mary Ann was dead. The Germans had forced her to take Mary Ann's place long ago. And now they were threatening their little Anna to make her continue. She told Max who her German handlers in London were, the ones holding their daughter's life over her head. She loved him. She sobbed. She loved Anna more than anything, but she was trapped. Max listened, his world shattered, but a fire of rage also lit within him.
These men were threatening his family. That night, Max became the soldier he once was. He found the German spies Marianne had named. It was dangerous, a fight in the shadows, but Max was skilled and driven by a desperate need to protect his wife and child. He made sure those men would never threaten them again. He rushed back to Marianne. "We have to go now," he urged. They grabbed a sleeping Anna and a few belongings and raced to a small airfield. Max found a plane, bundled them in, and desperately tried to start the engine. It coughed and sputtered, but wouldn't catch. Panic rose in his chest. Suddenly, headlights pinned them. Frank and other soldiers approached. Frank's face was grim. "Max," he said, his voice heavy. "The blue dye. The information was passed on. We intercepted the message. It was her." The official proof. Marianne had sent the message. Marianne looked at Max, her eyes filled with an unbearable love and sorrow. There was no escape for her that wouldn't destroy Max and Anna. Before anyone could stop her, she pulled out her own small gun. "I love you, Max," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Take care of our Anna. Tell her I loved her." And then she turned the gun on herself. Max screamed, lunging for her, but it was too late. Frank's men held him back as he collapsed in grief. Later, Frank said quietly to Max, "For the official report, Max, you killed her. You and Anna are clear." Max was given a letter Marianne had written for Anna. In it, she poured out her heart, her love for her daughter and for him, explaining the impossible choices she had to make. Max stood under the gray London sky, holding Anna tightly. He had lost his love, but he had their child, and he had the truth of Marianne's fierce, desperate love, a love that, caught in a terrible war and a web of lies, had made the ultimate sacrifice. He would protect Anna, tell her about her brave, trapped mother, and remember the woman whose love for them had been the only true thing in her dangerous life.
作为一个母语非英语的人，能把故事听完，你的进步太大了。感谢你收看这个节目。如果你觉得这个节目对你有帮助，请给我一个点赞或者留下评论，这对我很重要。这里是像学母语一样学英语频道，我们下个视频见。